Championship winner, Paula Finley from Canada. Athletes, you are now in the hands of the starters.
A very warm welcome to Dallas, a stunning setting for Triathlon's US Open, and this is the third event of the PTO calendar. We have got 100 kilometers of the Fast and the Furious. We have got $1 million up for grabs on the finish line, and we've got one big question that needs answering. In the intense heat and the draining humidity, who comes through to make themselves a hero this weekend?
It's hard to keep that demon locked inside. Let's peel the skin and scratch him one more time. Here I go.
So it was a week ago on Saturday, September 17th, the PTO US Open in Dallas, Texas, which is a 100-kilometer distance race. And prior to leaving, I was feeling worried about the weather, fit, but not overly excited for the event like I have been for other races this year.
Little hold at the top, little squeeze at the top. Good. And good. Switch hands. But I think it's confusing if you're doing Kona.
Is he doing Kona?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think that would be a tough double.
Yeah.
For all of the Kona boys.
Yeah.
9 and 10. Take a little breather. Put the Viper right on its end. Okay, so I just make sure your butt's going a little bit more to the back.
Yeah, so it was really nice since Eric was not racing and he'd just come back from winning a race. So the moods were high, the vibes were good. He was just wanting to be helpful. So he basically built my new bike bag, which is a bit more of a process than we expected it would be, and then put my bike in it. So the logistics of actually packing and leaving were quite a lot more streamlined and quick than what they usually are when I do everything alone. So thank you to Eric for that.
This bag is full of food. We got chicken sandwich for you, chicken sandwich for me, 4 apples, cookie, gummy bears, cookie bars. Got this for you, Snickers, just in case. Quinoa salad.
Sweet, I feel like that should get us to Denver.
Should get us to Denver. Already at the airport waiting for us.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Hey man.
Oh, you brought your bike too.
Well, I gotta have some way to get around.
Thank you so much for picking us up. I didn't realize we were just at the airport.
Oh no, we were recording live and then completely imploded.
This is actually really nice here.
This is the bike course right here.
Right, the first morning when we got there, our travel was super smooth. We landed around 9 p.m., picked up by Talbot Cox at the airport, dropped off at the hotel, and All of our luggage made it, which was really great. That's always kind of a worry these days. And we just started off with like a little stroll around the hotel, tried to find good coffee. And on the schedule for that day was a bike and a run and some photos and just trying to like, you know, get settled on that time zone and that climate. So the first thing I did training-wise was go for a run. We went down to the lobby and Belinda Granger was getting ready for a run herself. So she joined us, which was really fun since she could talk all day nonstop and is very entertaining. Really, we love her. So it was good to have her for company and also just have her like help us navigate around the course because she knew it pretty well.
Yeah, we picked up a famous person to run with.
I'll have to slow down a little
Wait,
bit.
are you guys gonna run along the lake path like a whole?
We're going to try and run some of the course. We're going to run down, we'll go down here and run the lake.
I would rather
to
run
the
the
race.
course. Yeah.
To
Go
the
down
race
here,
start
to
and
the
then
race.
we'll start the run.
Feelings about the run course? Sick! Sick run course, PTO. With canals and bridges. Really sweet.
Oh yeah, after that we found a good coffee shop, right? It was like a couple 100 meters from the hotel. And Eric and I are coffee dependent and we like good coffee. So we rolled over there on our bikes, got made fun of by Sebastian Kienle for being that triathlon life and drinking coffee in our bike kits. And then we went and rolled around the course and checked out the venue.
How's Cat?
Did Sebastian Kinley just call you a hobbyist pro triathlete? I think he did.
I believe he did. And I told him that jealousy is not cool.
Basically the whole bike course, because it's a 7-lap loop course, so we could do several loops of it in an hour ride. And it was good. I mean, I kind of liked it. The roads were quieter than I thought they would be. And the bike was working great, had Eric with me. Everything was going super smooth. And honestly, the heat wasn't that bad 2 days prior to the race.
I could give you a better massage than that.
Oh, is that an offer?
I'm sure.
Because I'll take one.
Oh,
I didn't offer to you.
My guy
Just
decided
follow.
to peace out to the beach, and I didn't get a post-race massage.
That's
so.
so sad.
The United States is by far the biggest market for media. It's by far the biggest professional sports market. And for those of you who've come up from World Triathlon racing, you'll know there hasn't been a World Triathlon race in this country for 7 years. And the reason is it's a really challenging environment to put races on. It's a huge opportunity, there's a lot of interest, and we have got broadcasters and brands looking very, very closely at the race this weekend and looking at all the potential in this sport. With Edmonton and the Collins Cup, great success so far, but there is an awful lot of pressure riding on this.
Yeah, one day before the race was the pro briefing, the Friday before at 9 a.m. So basically the bike course went up one side of a boulevard, and we had all thought we'd come back down the other side of the median, so we'd have double lanes on both sides, and there'd be lots of room for motors and passing. But it turns out only one side was closed, so there were cones up the middle, which created a really narrow course. So there was a lot of talk about that and just how drafting would be avoided with motorcycles going up and down the middle and us being kind of squished to one side. The PTO is trying hard and they're improving every race. Even between the women's race and the men's race, I think they made improvements this past weekend. But it's hard because the whole focus of these events is media coverage, and to get good media coverage you need motors on the course. So there's solutions to it and there's ways to do it better, and I think they are super receptive to making it better, but there is a learning curve. We're just like a little bit the test subjects as they improve and get better, and I think next year they'll be even better, we'll hope. So the swim course preview that day, I was unsure if I would get in or not because it's not really a lake that people will swim in, so you're always like a little concerned with water quality. But everyone, I mean, it is really good just to like check out the pontoon and see if there's any currents and like see how far it feels to get to the first buoy. So I decided to go for it. A lot of other women did as well. And also the top 10 athletes had to pick their position on the pontoon that day. So it was good to get like a visual of the pontoon and decide which side I wanted to start on. So the water was super warm and the day was hot. Like you could tell when the sun was out from behind a cloud, you'd feel just like suffocated by heat, and it would go behind a cloud and you'd feel better. So yeah, really the takeaway from the swim briefing was that the water was hot. Yeah, so that was pretty much all. I went back to the hotel, got my stuff all organized, and it was a noon start, so there's no stress about like waking up super early and making sure I had my breakfast laid out and everything. So it was a very like chilled morning race day because we had till 10:30 till we had to go down to the course. So yeah, I just tried to get to bed early, had Chipotle, and that's it. All right, so race day, woke up, had to leave for the course at 10:30, so Eric and I walked over to the coffee shop just to like get out of the hotel, move my legs a bit. I felt not excited. It was kind of strange. Like race morning of Edmonton, PTO, or the Canadian Open, I felt ready to go, super fired up, super like nervous but excited to go hard. And the heat kind of brought this like element of not dread, but just like it wasn't going to be a race, it was going to be like more survival, and that worried me a lot. So I don't know, the feeling was more of like, oh, I just want this to be over than, oh, I can't wait for this to start. But went through the motions, and honestly, like my nerves get calmed a lot once I see my friends, like Holly and Jackie. I'm like, okay, we're all in this together, we're all doing this together. And that's when I start to feel a little bit better and like, oh, this is just another day, we've done this so many times. So it's like the sitting and waiting in the hotel room that really is the worst part. And then once you get going and start setting up transition, those nerves dissipate a little bit. I set up my transition super quickly. I didn't get down to the race as early as I normally would have. And then I got straight into the VIP tent, which was air conditioned. Didn't do a run warm up. Didn't do really a bike warm-up aside from riding over to the course, and just like kind of tried to chill out as much as I could before it was time to get in for the swim warm-up. And although the water was hot, it still had this cooling effect when you got out and I was wet and I was underneath the shade. So the only warm-up I did was like a 10-minute swim warm-up. And then just had lots of cold water and like towels, and there were lots of coolers with ice around that we could just use to make sure we were staying cool before the start.
Let's peel the skin and scratch him one more time. Here I go.
Feeling standing on the start line was the same as like every ITU race I've done in my life. It's the worst, but in Ironman races, you just kind of wade into the water casually and the gun goes off and you go, and there's not a big hype. But this race felt exactly like an ITU race where everyone's on the pontoon with numbers and it's very formal and there's introductions, and it does elevate the nerves and the heart rate to another level that if you're not used to that or don't have experience with it, I think could be detrimental. So I was okay because I've done that a lot before, but it's definitely a whole other feeling of nerves, and you could either use it to your advantage and get you excited about how big of a deal it is, or you can just like, it can make you way over the top nervous where you just like mess up your swim start. So for me, I think it helped. I had a really good swim start, and yeah, I didn't mind it too much.
Here I go.
After lap one, I could tell who I was around, and I knew I was in a good position. And I was just kind of like missing the tail end of the front group, so I tried to have a really fast run through. And then once I dove back in, I caught up to that group, because when I'm swimming with no one around me and just focusing on like myself swimming well, I actually move forward well. So yeah, I was with a good group and I knew it, so I was happy. Yeah, after the lap 2, I was hearing names and seeing people ahead of me that I didn't think I could swim with, like Flora and Ashley and some like good swimmers. So I was just happy that I got out of the water in good position and knew that we had probably put a lot of time on people that weren't as strong in the water. But I was warm, so I was like, okay, just get on your bike and settle in, and this is a good pack to be in. My mindset in races is like get to the front, and it usually works, but this time I had to go around about 5 or 6 people, which was a fairly significant surge to get around them, and probably burned a lot of matches and overheated myself doing that. But it's really my only strategy on the bike is to like go hard. So if I race any more in the heat, I'll have to, you know, learn to hold myself back a bit earlier on. Yeah, me and Holly Lawrence basically were taking turns at the front of that group. And I think the group did splinter a little bit as we put some surges in, and as the race went on, a lot of people dropped off of it. But coming into T2, it was like Lisa Norden, Flora Duffy, myself, and Holly Lawrence.
Dwayne Paula Finley right behind her. Then you've got Lisa Norden. Then you've got Flora Duffy.
Yeah, heading onto the run, Flora took off like it was an ITU race, and I just kind of felt like when you're watching her run away from you, you don't feel like you're going hard, but I definitely went out too hard because of that. But I was super thirsty, just kind of craving cold water because all the stuff I had on my bike was like warm by that point. And, you know, hit the aid station, took as much as I could, and then was feeling good for probably 4 or 5 minutes. Good as in like I was moving well, and then it just hit me that I was not in a good place and, you know, came to a halt basically. The thing about these PTO races is the prize money is really good all the way to 20th place. 20th place gets $5,000, 10th place gets $16,000. So that's usually when you win an Ironman 70.3, you get $5,000. So like the motivation to finish was purely a financial one, really. Unfortunately, I don't like racing for money or thinking about money when I race, but that's the reality of these events, is that the PTOs put up so much money for us that you just get to the finish line. And I knew that even though I was having a bad day and not moving fast, a lot of other people were as well. So it's easy to get stuck in this mindset like I'm the only one suffering, but everybody was, and you never know what's gonna happen. So as long as I wasn't like in danger and passing out and feeling dizzy and chilled like you do when you get a heat stroke, I knew I could continue on. That's what I did.
Obviously, Worlds are coming up.
Yeah, the takeaway from it was that I guess I don't race well in the heat, or I need to do more specific heat prep if I raced in that kind of weather again. But fortunately, those kind of hot races don't happen that often, so that's good. And if they do, I have the option to not go to them. But I'm trying to not let it impact my confidence going into 70.3 Worlds. I've been training really well. Even leading into Dallas, I've been training super well. I know that I'm a lot fitter and faster than what I showed on that day. So we've taken this week pretty easy, just more emotionally getting over that experience than physically. I actually feel totally fine, because when you race slow like that, you don't really get sore or tired as much. So I'm excited to kind of get back to a schedule and get ready for Worlds, where I think the course suits me more. Hopefully there'll be a random freak blizzard in the middle of it, because I think I'll handle that a lot better than the heat. And I'm excited for that, like genuinely excited for St. George, which is a totally different feeling than I had for Dallas, so it's good. Yeah, we might not do like a weekly vlog leading into St. George, because the weekly vlogs are so much work. And should I keep talking?
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, look at all these people that get ready for Kona, like Heather and everyone. They put like all of their life into getting ready for that one race, and they get insanely fit. I'm like, why don't we just do that for St. George? Like, cut down the social activities, get really regular with our bedtime, maybe cut back on the social media stuff and the vlogs and everything, and just like put all of our heart and soul into training for St. George, and you never know what'll happen. So we'll still do the podcast, we'll still like have our other stuff going on. But also I got a new Shiv from Specialized, which is the nicest thing I've ever seen. So we're gonna do a cool video surrounding that. But aside from that, yeah, we'll see you guys next time we put a video out, and keep listening to the podcast, and thanks for all the support. We appreciate it a lot.